Learn not just to memorize meanings of words, but to figure them out when you see them. And that word superjective, Latin jactio, is the verb to throw, to cast. Super, over, on. Yeah. So that it's in the superjective nature of God that God, as it were, gives something to nature, to the world. But the consequent nature of God, God gets something from the world. You see. So you have to start with the primordial nature of God to know, as it were, what God begins with and how an event affects God, and then what God gives back to the event. Because that's the way it is. You see, what's everlasting is the primordial nature of God. That never changes. That never changes. Consequent nature, superjective nature, those are changing. But the primordial nature never changes. What is the primordial nature? It is the ordered harmony of all eternal objects. Eternal objects are the eternal possibilities. In other words, what he's saying is that you have to think of God as the sum total of all logical possibilities. Now, get that in mind, and then see how it echoes the past. For St. Augustine, the rationes aeternae, those eternal forms, eternal ideals, Plato's forms, are what? They're conceptual possibilities in the mind of God, archetypes in the mind of God. Sure, that's what Augustine got from those Alexandrian church fathers. From that Logos tradition in the early church that was so influenced by the Middle Platonism. And remember, of the three influences on Whitehead's thought that we were talking about last time, the third was these Alexandrian church fathers. So in effect, what Whitehead is doing is picking up on the Platonic theory of forms as it was translated through the Middle Platonism into the Logos language of the Stoics that the Christian church adopted and applied to the Creator God and the incarnate Logos, in whom are hid all treasures of wisdom and knowledge, yes, all rationes aeternae, yes, all forms. That's the way they explained his omniscience. Yes. That's the way it was in the Alexandrian tradition, in Justin Martyr, in Augustine, in Anselm, in Thomas Aquinas, the whole medieval tradition. Yes, but it's back to the Alexandrians that Whitehead likes to go. So then, you have, in thinking of God and God's experience, God's own experience, you have to think of his thinking on these thoughts, his eternal wisdom, the possibilities for his creation. Now, as nature itself, the world, and the world's history, development, takes place, natural events, God, who is all experiencing, experiences the world. And he can be touched with a feeling of what's going on in the world. You see? So God feels what's going on. God's don't move him. You see? God feels with us. That's the language that Whitehead keeps using. I'll read some of it to you shortly. You see? So that there is then here the conceptual prehension of possibilities. Here there is what he has called the physical prehension of objective data of what's going on. You see? And God experiencing in that very affective sense what's going on in the world, while knowing, conceptually, all sorts of eternal possibilities for harmonizing. What does he do? In his superjective nature, he offers possibilities to the world process. Yeah, it's God who provides the initial subjective aim. God, not some blind mechanistic force, but God. You see. And, of course, in human experience, you begin to see now that human beings have freedom to resist the will of God. You see. Freedom to modify what God in his goodness offers as an aim, purpose. So God's primordial nature corresponds to the second ingredient in a natural event. God's consequent nature corresponds to the first ingredient in a natural event. God's superjective nature corresponds with the third. That is to say, the third which then leads on into future events as it does. So that as the next event comes down the pipeline, as it were, hideous metaphor, the primordial nature of God incorporates all possibilities for this new situation. You see? Yes, because the total possibilities included the possibilities that would arise in any new situation. So the primordial nature is always there with things in reserve. Now I said the next event that comes down the pipeline, of course, it's not a matter of events coming down. Beep. What comes from another one? Beep. No, it's not that way. It's much more like a, well, I suppose you have to say since I use sound, it's some extremely complex but magnificent symphony. You see? Or if you want to use strands, it's more like a highly complex bell telephone cable that takes them a week to sort out when it gets messed up. You see, with events weaving into events in multitudinous lines of connection. But for simplicity's sake, he analyzes it in terms of one event leading to another event. So what sort of God, then, does this give? Well, it's a God who orders the universe. God, he says, is the principle of order. Or, to use his term, God is the principle of concretion. Now, you look at that word concretion, and I suppose you think concrete. No, don't. Now take his words at face value, his technical terms. Concretion seems to be his synonym for the word concrescence. And if you had Latin, and if you don't, it's still the case, but the word concrescence means growing together. Cresco is the verb to grow, con with, growing together. There used to be a cooking fat called Cresco. Until in these days of fat consciousness, they all became liquid rather than solid. Cresco was a cooking fat that makes the cakes rise. So, concrescence. Now, God then is the principle of concretion, concrescence. It's God who keeps the growth going into that harmony of the symphony. Now, notice, God does not originate the world process. God doesn't originate it. The category of the ultimate is creativity. There's always been creativity. Primary example is God. But Whitehead seems to think that there are natural processes that have been going on, one or another, going all the way back. And there's no reason in Whitehead to think that God was the first such process. So I guess God and the Big Bang, title of a lecture tomorrow night, I see, would be very different for a Whiteheadian theologian than for a traditional theist. Nor does he think of God, he doesn't think of him as an originator, nor does he think of him as God who is the terminator. I guess that's a science fiction term now. God is wrapping it up. In other words, he doesn't have an eschatology. You see, he doesn't have an eschatology. The end of the thing. You say a teleology without an eschatology, yeah. The teleology just goes on and on and on and on and on. And then on. So the harmony is being created all the time. And it's an everlasting harmony. You see? Yeah, it's an everlasting harmony. So he doesn't think of history having some terminus towards which it's moving. God is the principle of concretion, the principle of order. He also calls God the principle of limitation. Because by virtue of his superjective nature, there are only limited possibilities available. Only limited possibilities available. So the world process is not going to self-destruct for Whitehead. It can't, if that's not in the possibilities. God's subjective nature doesn't have such possibilities. So you notice then that his emphasis is on the creativity of God, exercised with loving care, in providing initial subjective aim in every event, no matter how micro or macro, in the entire world process. In that sense, God too is an event, the all-experiencing event. You see. It's not pantheism, it's not traditional theism in any sense in which God is creator. Some process theologians, we'll find in a moment, see it as a kind of panentheism. Everything goes on within the experience that is God. But the event, the super all-inclusive experience that is God, is much more than all of the world process. So panentheism. Yeah. Now, you may be tempted to ask, as a friend of mine does whenever I remember him discussing this sort of thing, well, what is the experiencer? You say, what is the experiencer? To which Whitehead's reply is, all right, in your case as a perceiver, what is a perceiver? What is a person? You see, the only thing we can say is a person is a succession of events with a unity and harmony to the whole. That memory theory of personal identity. Because this is a process philosophy, not a substance philosophy. Don't look for a substrate, a stuff, an entity, a thing that thinks and feels. No, not a thing that thinks and feels, but thinking and feeling. That's what's real. So this is where it comes out. Let me read you some of what Whitehead says so that you can get the sense of it. This is his major work, Process and Reality. Towards the end, there's a section on God and the world, and here it is. In the great formative period of theistic philosophy, which ended in the rise of Mohammedanism, after a continuance coeval with civilization, three strains of thought emerge. You know, it's noticeable how often he talks of three. Those dialectical triads. You see, three strains of thought emerge, which amid many variations in detail, respectively fashion, first, God in the image of an imperial ruler. Second, God as a personification of moral energy. Third, God in the image of an ultimate philosophical principle. Now, what do you have in mind? These three schools of thought can be associated, respectively, with the divine Caesars. Remember how the Roman Caesars were divinized for the Roman Senate? He has become a god, as it was said of one. The imperial ruler, God the imperial ruler. The second personification of moral energy, the Hebrew prophets. The third, the ultimate philosophical principle, Aristotle. But Aristotle was antedated by Indian and Buddhist thought, and Hebrew prophets can be paralleled in traces of earlier thought. Mohammedanism and the divine Caesars merely represent the most natural, obvious, idolatrous, theistic symbolism at all epochs and places. The history of theistic philosophy exhibits various stages of combination of these three diverse ways of entertaining the problem. However, there is the Galilean origin of Christianity. Not Galileo, but Galilee. Okay, the Galilean origin of Christianity. And yet another suggestion there that doesn't fit well with any of the three main strands. It doesn't emphasize a ruling Caesar or a ruthless moralist or the unmoved mover. It dwells upon the tender elements in the world which slowly and in quietness operate by love. And it finds purpose in the present immediacy of a kingdom that's not of this world. It doesn't look to the future, but finds its reward in the immediate present. The kingdom of God is among you see. Every sparrow, when it falls, is seen. the hairs of your head are all numbered. Some of you it's a much bigger task than others. Yeah. So then, God in those terms, and he's caught up, you see, by not Christian theology, but caught up by the image of Jesus as it was in a certain liberal theological tradition that emphasized Jesus as the man of love, you see. That was very, very active in his younger years, his background. Then, let's see, 346. Yeah, we conceive of the patience of God tenderly saving the turmoil of an intermediate world by the completion of his own nature. God's role is not the combat of productive force with productive force, of destructive force with destructive force. It lies in the patient operation of the overpowering rationality of his conceptual harmonization. What's the overpowering rationality of his conceptual harmonization? The primacy of the primordial nature, which is, you see, his conceptual harmonization of all possibilities. Hence his ability to work all things together for good. So, let's see, the patience of God, yeah. The revolts of destructive evil, purely self-regarding, are dismissed into their triviality. And yet the good they did achieve in individual joy and individual sorrow in the introduction of needed contrast is saved by its relation to the completed whole. The image is that of a tender care that nothing be lost. God does not create the world, he saves it, or more accurately, he's the poet of the world, with tender patience, leading it by its vision of truth, beauty, and goodness. And the creation achieves the reconciliation of permanence and flux when it's reached its final term, its everlastingness. So there it is. He talks of leading by love, and he has a long disquisition in one place, repeated talk in one of his books about love, which he takes to be eros. In Adventures of Ideas, this is. Love which he takes to be eros, not agape, but eros. Because eros is the Platonic word for love, which is what? A love of the good, you see. So it's in this overarching love of good that God acts. A desire for good, you see. And it's that which, in the initial aim that God gives, the initial subjective aim, is being spread abroad, a desire for good. And you recall how in the medieval teleologies, you see, all of nature has its natural tendency towards its natural good, you see. And even human beings who mistake what is the good, they'll still desire the good, even though they have said, evil be thou my good, they still desire that good. You see, so he's trying to recapture that teleology, and in this way. Well, any comments, any questions? No. In fact, the incarnation doesn't either. You see, he talks of the historical Jesus, but not of the incarnate second person of the Trinity. So that as in Hegel, so in Whitehead, Christian theological concepts are simply symbols, not to be taken as conceptually true. You see. Remember in Hegel you get the final triad in the absolute spirit, moving from art to religion to philosophy, where religion is a symbolic expression, it's philosophy that conceptualizes it. So religious thought is symbolic thought. Incarnation then is symbolic of what? Of the immanent loving activity of God in history, in nature. Yeah. In fact, some years ago I taught a seminar on Whitehead and process theology in which the second half of the term, after having studied Whitehead, each person in the class was responsible for one 20th century process theologian, and for what that theologian had to say on certain key theological topics, you see. And I don't think we found a single one who gave any traditional interpretation of the incarnation. It was always symbolic. And similarly with other cardinal Christian doctrines. Now, I'm not going to say it couldn't be done, and I didn't read all the stuff that I had then read. I was getting them to do my reading for me, which is, best reason for teaching a seminar. Get other people to do your research. Sometimes I'd like to go back and do it for myself. Telling somebody that when I retire, the book I have up my sleeve is a Whitehead book. I've been reading Whitehead, working on Whitehead on and off for 4 years. I'd like to bring it to fruition. So, one of the things I want to do is to go through all that literature, you'll see if there's any of them who really do move beyond Whitehead in that regard. They may, but certainly in the literature it's not at all happening.
In